rhetoric. And that's not smart working. I think smart working is a total restructuring of the process of production, both of goods and of services, by means of two factors. One is the technical progress in the new versions of ICT, and the second factor is the change in the organizational of innovations, the introduction of organizational innovation, technical progress plus innovation. And I would say that this restructuring concerns at least three fields. The first field is the content of work. There must be a transition from fixed and standardized tasks to team commitment in terms of problem solving and of cooperation and participation of all the employees with attention and responsibility for the result and the outcome. The second field is concerns the place of work and the office spaces. Well, the place of work is not only home, but there could be a variety of places from where to work. Could be traveling, could be public settings, it could be other offices, for instance, partners' offices or client offices, or places in which things are happening and a presence is needed. Also, office spaces should be no more assigned to individuals, but to functions. Though the space of the office, the premises of the offices, I cannot see anything more and I cannot hear anything. All right.
Sebastiano, we hear
it
you.
has been stopped.
Sebastiano, we hear you.
Sembra si sia verificato un errore. Stiamo cercando di ristabilire la connessione alla riunione.
Ma noi ti sentiamo, Sebastiano.
Yeah, we can hear, but the imagine is frozen. But we can perfectly hear. Okay. Now it's okay.
Can you hear again? There's been a sudden stop of the things. Okay.
It's not working. Close the video.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe it could be
I
useful.
wonder why
that
there are such. Yes?
Maybe it could be useful that most of us will close our video to.
Yes, it's better like that.
Yeah, you are right.
Okay, so I can't see anyone now. Okay, we were talking about the spaces of the offices, and this should be assigned to functions, implying a rotation in the use of the offices and a consequent saving of spaces and lights and heating costs and so on. The third field is the working time, which is the factor in the field that is most. This working time should be regulated in a flexible way with a variety of patterns. There could be core hours of connections and free and flexible time for the rest. There could be compressed working weeks, concentrate in a few days of the week. There could be job sharing and some other patterns. Well, all these changes, I think, will impact also on other fields, which I think we are not going to deal with today, but it could be worth taking into account. For instance, there are point of effects in the environment and ecological questions. Less pollution from transport, less consumption of power, and so on. Also, this total and deep change would affect also the urban design and the assignment of activities in the urban space. For instance, restaurants, fast food, banks should be placed elsewhere. And finally, this would also change the values of properties of estates in the town, between the center and the periphery, and with consequences even of the distribution of the population in the space around the towns. Now, the efficiency of this restructuring is nevertheless conditional on at least 4 or 5 requirements. The first one is the ability of fully exploiting the new technologies, and this implies a diffusion of digital skills. The second condition is the managerial capacity to design and to develop and to actually manage a new organization of work through the adoption of the new innovative technologies, the fourth industrial revolution, and so on. The third condition is that should an appropriate leadership role with a change of way of practicing it should be ensured, and coordination of individual work and the supervision of the works on the employees should be maintained in different ways. The fourth condition is that the social relations within the firm among employees, face-to-face, a kind of face-to-face, a changed face-to-face relations should be ensured in order not to destroy the feeling and the ability of interacting, interpersonal interaction. And the fifth condition is to avoid overtime and self-exploitation. Now, I can hear some interference, some people talking, but it's not in our session, I think. Okay, if these problems are saved and these conditions are fulfilled, this would improve. This would produce an improvement first in the quality of work, secondly in the reduction of cost and the increase in productivity of the firm, and thirdly on flexibility between leisure time, work time, and family time. I think some of these issues and some more will be dealt with in detail by the participants in this round table. Round table, which I think it could be organized in this way. We can have a first round devoted to the presentation of the organizational issues in the first place and the implications for problems related to the law and to the problem of collective bargaining. After that, we can have a second round for cross reactions by the participants and questions from the audience, if possible. So, if Anna is here, but I cannot see among the participants, I would start with her presentation, but she doesn't seem to be here, so I should start with Giuseppe Della Rocca. Giuseppe Della Rocca is here.
Yes.
Okay, I can see him. He's a university lecturer and has been and still is a consultant for several organizations, public and private, and so is rich with not only theoretical background, but with experience and expertise in the relation with the problems. So, Giuseppe Della Rocca, we are ready to listen to you.
Okay, thank you. I give you a view of the slide, if it's possible. Yes, here.
I hope so.
Yes. So the name of my presentation is Public Sector Rhetoric and Practice in the SmartWorking implementation. The first thing is the rhetoric. In fact, we have now the main things that is working is home working for the most of the working population, especially in the public sector, that I will stop about the public sector even now. So the question is smart working or home working. Pandemia has been the driver to home working. The driver to home working wasn't technology, evolution of organization, quality of work, new competence. That were not the driver. The driver was to go home to save himself from the pandemia. In fact, if you look at the public administration, in Italy, during March and April, I have data, recent data, but it's better to take this one that are worst of the one now, involve the 59-60 of the employees in the public administration. We mean 3 million people. Maximum limit was the 99% in the independent service authority that include IMSS, for instance. And the lower one was obviously
Non
international
si sente
health
più
service.
niente.
Non si sente?
No, we hear you. I do not know why.
Sì.
Guarda, mi senti?
Not
Mi
hear
sente
you.
benissimo.
We can hear. We can hear you.
We can hear.
So the lower one was the 5% international health service. If you want, in the metropolitan cities and province, the 60% was going home. In the municipality, the 45%. This is the whole population during the first wave of pandemia. And most of these people were working from home, not from technology driving or other organizational driving. So it's important to distinguish from different phenomena, from work home to safety reason, without any change in task technology, organization, procedure. So in this way, what is strange today is that a lot of people is talking about smart working, but in fact, we have home working. Smart working in a smart organization with a different digital technology, procedure, task, competence. Smart working, which mean to change the organization, mean efficacy in the service, and at the meantime increase of competence at work and the work quality. Nowadays, the majority of the population is still placed, I am talking about, especially about public administration, is still placed in the first stage. But in the meantime, there is a lot of talking about smart working, but it's nothing really smart working. That is the rhetoric. Do not distinguish from different phenomena. Work from home for safety reason, without any change in task, technology, organization, procedure. So in this time, smart working mean home working. To take my task, my document from the office to home and then work. Sometimes it was difficult to work anyway, and that is another story. Smart working in a smart organization with different digital technology mean to have a different digital technology, procedure, task, competence. Smart, that is the word, the translation in Italy is agile, means efficacy, and the efficacy in the service, and in the meantime, increase the competence of the work quality. What happened? So what we need to have a smart working and to develop? We need to have a knowledge of the technological background of the country and in the public administration. Without a good technological background, it's difficult to work smart. We must have knowledge of the degree of interaction and diversity of digital platform and performance. So the question is, even if we have technology, there is a problem of the integration of platform. Means we have to have knowledge of the degree of digital interdependence in any organization. After, if the platform is working, it's important that in the organization there must be a good interdependency, not one task, one standard of a technology. And the last thing is knowledge, is the one that you already said, everybody say, is the knowledge of actual competence and the one needed. What are the events about these 4 points? The event is this one. In Italy, we have different sort of measurement. The most known is the one, DESI, Digital Economy and Society Index, with the data from the European Commission on 2019. How can you see Italy is in the one of the last position. The country with a better position are the country from the north, or the country that were working already time ago from islands or from different places, isolated places. So in a summary, we can see that Italy is in the 24th position. In the degree of human capital incompetence, there are 26 in the 26th position. The degree on technology and organization integration is in the 23rd position. In the degree of municipality the municipality is covering only the 21 of the whole municipality in Italy. It's easy. Sometimes the people forgot that in Italy there are a lot of small tasks, small town, small municipality, and so on. So we are talking about smart working with a degree, a sort of diffusion that is the one that you can see from DESI. Obviously, there are other way of measurement. One is the Italian one, is the one of the Polytechnic of Milan. But the difference between DESI and the one of Polytechnic of Milan are not so large, in the sense that they are saying more or less the same things. Sorry. That is the diffusion of technology. What we say about public administration is that among the other European countries, Italy's tentative to develop digitalization of services take up an intermediate level. Is not in the last position in the public administration. Why? Because there is an improvement, there was and there is improvement of electronic identity card that are the platform, electronic identity card, digital identity to use public services, online payment to PA, Pago PA, digital invoice, residential citizen central for database, flow chart of public expenditure, and digital pay slip, NOI PA. What is the point about this platform? The point about this platform is their functional platform. They don't talk from each other. So if I am going smart, if I am working smart, I can go to one of these, but the problem is to be in touch with the other one, if there is some problem. You can see this about, you can say better in this, weak integration among platform and structure. So there is what I said, one task, for instance, payment, one procedure, not interoperability between other procedures and platform. Absence of integration between different documental flow. For instance, PagoPA, a flow only for collection and not for pay performance to several customers. As some time ago, a few weeks ago, the mayor of Aquila said, we build 2 weeks ago, I think he said such things. We build a machine of paper. We build a town of paper, but not a town of house and street. So this remain on the way that paper is going along when it's possible. Sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes Carabinieri, I don't know the name in things to bring paper from one side to the others because there is nobody at the office. At the end, we have few competence to manage integration and digital work, as everybody already knows. So the first problem is the weak of integration among platform structures. They are not talking from each other. And this sort of weak integration is diffused for other sort of platform. I just take this one that are the more important, and then the European Commission thinks is a good. They are a good level as a standard one. So, like a bancomat obviously thinks much more simple. But it's the standard that you give the input and after will come the output on the same procedure without any connection with other procedure. The second problem is the weak independence among roles inside the same organization. About the platform, we are talking about as a whole, different organization, different roles, and so on. Inside of the single organization, on work frequently is use standard procedure. Now we will say we show you what it means standard procedure. Without independence, within different role, within different standard. Smart working. To be smart, need a second generation of ICT to have interdependence among separate functions, separate roles, customers, and in a network. That must be agile, smart, in this sense. Interdependency is needed to be a smart working for selecting, using, deciding about information. If we have only a standard procedure, technological and standard procedure, always we don't even that, we don't have that. But if we use standard procedure, the problem is the interdependence between this standard procedure to other standard procedure for selecting, using, deciding about information to use. Another point is smart work needs a rearrangement. That is one of the main points of documentation archive. For instance, I am working smart for in a digital innovation like identity card. I want to have other information, no? I might go to the documentation of the single municipality, and sometimes this documentation is not there is not technological treatment, and it's difficult to put together different archive, different land register. Obviously, it is a big question in the public administration because there is a plurality of how to organize, a plurality of way how to organize documentation. So if you don't have such a documentation, sometime, or because a request of a customer, I can't decide. Or to decide, I must go to the office and look what happened about this font. In other way, we are going to the end. The risk is a failure in the use of smart working in selecting in real time and giving real decision. This draft give an idea of different steps of evolution in smart. Is taken by Thomson, a work of Thomson that is, the name was a good name, an important name. The name is of his book of publication is Organization in Action. So in some organization, the action is only on standard procedure. That means that everybody, the same activity, A, B, C, is following by a standard way from input to output, going down in this sense. The other idea of Thomson is in which sequential, that what it mean that we have different change in the, we have a change in the procedure, in the standard procedure, moving to other standard procedure, but always in going down without going back. And the third procedure that we call mutual adaptability, in which the same action, the same one task need to go back in the flow of information and ask what it means, what is the decision to take, what to do it. Or must go beside and to do the same thing, and beside everything. So mutuo adattamento is the Italian word, but mutual adaptations is important things, and not always technology realize this sort of mutual adaptations. But it's very important in the activity of the people. For instance, professional people. And they always must go in presence to the office to solve some of this problem. And this is one of the things that happen now, just to is to not have to be late in the decision making, because there is no time to do all these things. What I may see, so the risk in, I finish, the risk is a failure or is something confused. We must have an idea of, we must have memory in the public administration, what happened in the past. To use the word of the light and of the late Enlightenment in the 17th century, we must have memory, reason, and innovation. But memory it's very important to know what in the past different innovation were taken without reach any conclusion, or with very different conclusion, or without in some way some sort of confusion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Beppe. I would comment on two things. First things, I would not translate the word smart in Italian into agile. I should translate it into intelligente. Intelligente, smart also means intelligente. Lavoro intelligente, smart working. And if a task is stupid, it does not become intelligent, smart, just because it is performed at home and not in the office. The second point, which I would stress, is the fact that the availability of new technologies has not been transferred into a redesign, into a re-engineering of procedures and process of production, because you said mainly due to the lack of integration between platforms. But I should point out, and I would ask you if you are of the same opinion, this is a fault not of the technologies, but of the deficiency, of the lack of managerial capacity to integrate the platforms and to work in order to make use of these new technologies in order to change the organization of work, the procedures. That is, it looks like switching from the use of a typewriter to the use of computer, but doing the same things, exactly the same chain of steps in order to fulfill, to achieve some goals. This passage has not been successful because there is a lack of managerial capacity. It's not a fault of the technologies in themselves. Maybe you can answer to this in the second round. Now, if Anna Ponzellino has come, but I still cannot see her. Anna, are you there? No. Okay. Then
Anna has some problem to re-entering into the meeting. She made some mistakes when switching from the parallel session to the plenary session. So we are.
Okay, I hope she will be able to solve the problem by the end, before the end of this session. So you can listen to Stefano Bellomo now, if he is there, which who will deal, I think, with the point of view of collective agreement and the law. Okay.
Yeah, many thanks, Sebastiano. Well, first of all, I would like to thank the organizers for this very interesting round table. I already have learned many important aspects by the first presentation, and my intervention is mainly focused on the issues related to the smart work in the private sector, and I will not deal with the issues related to health and safety, because we have a division of task between myself and Maria Giovannone. I have prepared a very short presentation in PowerPoint, and I will expose it. Can you see it in the screen?
No.
Yes, okay. It's okay.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay. Many thanks. I prepared the presentation in English, but I would prefer to expose it in Italian. It's not a matter of laziness. Come on, it maybe.
Okay, we'll understand you. Okay.
No, but the main issue is that it's mainly focused on the Italian legislation. So many aspects could not be clear if exposed in English. Il punto di partenza, i due punti di partenza mi sembra che siano comuni a tutti coloro che fino adesso sono intervenuti. Prima di tutto la fase emergenziale della pandemia ha rappresentato un fortissimo fattore di accelerazione per il lavoro a distanza, e questa è un'ovvietà naturalmente. La seconda constatazione di partenza, che comincia a essere un po' più densa di significato, è che permane una commistione, confusione di modelli tra quello che noi giuristi chiameremmo il telelavoro, che appunto, come diceva il nostro Presidente nella sua introduzione, si concretizza in nient'altro che la medesima prestazione di lavoro svolta normalmente negli uffici, ma localizzata spazialmente in un'altra collocazione, e le vere forme di lavoro agile, come sono state regolate nel nostro ordinamento a partire dal 2017, che rispetto a questa configurazione molto primitiva di telelavoro presentano delle connotazioni e dei contenuti più sofisticati che, sia pure in termini molto generali, la legge 81 del 2017 negli articoli dal 18 al 23 ha recepito. Innanzitutto, ed è molto importante questo, ed è molto importante anche con riferimento a quanto ci diceva Giuseppe Della Rocca nella sua presentazione, è molto importante il fatto che il lavoro agile, anche nella configurazione prefigurata dal legislatore del 2017, è un lavoro che non ha una connotazione semplicemente di domiciliarietà, ma è un lavoro che è caratterizzato da una prestazione svolta anche per fasi ed obiettivi, e che può essere svolta in luoghi relativamente indifferenti e che può essere svolta all'interno o all'esterno dei locali aziendali. Altra connotazione che è estremamente qualificante di questa figura è la possibile, e dico possibile, relativa indifferenza dei tempi di lavoro, ferme restando le garanzie imprescindibili e irrinunciabili, che sono quelle del periodo di riposo minimo e del cosiddetto diritto alla disconnessione. La prestazione di lavoro si svolge secondo modalità temporali che sono affatto differenziate, affatto distinte rispetto a quelle del lavoro presenziale o del telelavoro. Ciò detto, però dobbiamo essere consapevoli, e di questo ne è apparentemente consapevole il legislatore del 2017, che per una regolazione compiuta, adeguata e autosufficiente del lavoro agile svolto appunto secondo queste generali coordinate, vi è la necessità di una disciplina di dettaglio nella singola situazione individuale che nelle intenzioni del legislatore del 2017 è stata essenzialmente affidata alla contrattazione individuale, cioè all'accordo sul lavoro agile, e questo con un deciso e importante mutamento di prospettiva rispetto al tradizionale assetto della gerarchia delle fonti, che vede naturalmente la graduazione e la ripartizione scalare della disciplina del rapporto di lavoro suddivisa tra l'imperatività della norma di legge, l'inderogabilità del contratto collettivo e il carattere, se vogliamo, aggiuntivo della contrattazione individuale. Il fatto di aver valorizzato la contrattazione individuale come possiamo dire fonte primaria in cooperazione con la norma di legge del lavoro agile ha diversi significati, assume diversi significati e diverse valenze nel sistema del diritto del lavoro. Prima di tutto, indubbiamente va posta in evidenza il significato di valorizzazione dell'accordo individuale come strumento di promozione delle istanze della persona che lavora. Il fatto appunto di aver rinviato all'accordo individuale allude al fatto che l'accordo individuale dovrebbe raccogliere e combinare tanto le prospettive, per così dire, di performance lavorativa, appunto il lavoro per fasi ed obiettivi piuttosto che il lavoro per disponibilità temporale, come quello appunto che ci viene tramandato dalla tradizione più antica, e accanto appunto ai progetti e aspettative di performance anche la situazione o le situazioni dei lavoratori declinati al plurale, dei lavoratori individui che a seconda della propria situazione individuale, a seconda della propria situazione familiare, a seconda delle modalità di bilanciamento tra vita e lavoro, attraverso l'accordo individuale sono posti in condizioni di definire con gli imprenditori delle coordinate di lavoro efficienti su entrambi i versanti. Dall'altro punto di vista, il fatto di aver essenzialmente, per non dire esclusivamente, c'è qualche passaggio fugace dedicato alla contrattazione collettiva, ma essenzialmente rinviato all'accordo collettivo, allude ad un'altra necessità, questa volta di carattere sistematico, in qualche modo di rivedere, di rielaborare gli equilibri tra il contratto collettivo e il contratto individuale. La caratterizzazione fisiologica del contratto collettivo è quella di dettare una disciplina standard, e la disciplina standard appunto può non essere efficiente per coprire molti aspetti della relazione di lavoro con modalità di lavoro agile. Questo non vuol dire, e io sono convinto di questo non vuol dire che la contrattazione collettiva diventa un elemento che irrilevante o addirittura controproducente anche ai fini della disciplina di questi rapporti, ma sicuramente la ripartizione di competenze tra l'accordo individuale e una contrattazione collettiva che fino adesso si è giustamente ritenuto nell'ambito del lavoro presenziale abbia comunque un ambito di competenza universale. Ecco, questo equilibrio, questa ripartizione di competenze tra contrattazione collettiva e accordi individuali, indubbiamente con l'ingresso del lavoro agile nel diritto del lavoro richiede alcuni ripensamenti. Richiede in qualche modo di modularizzare, di collocare in una determinata posizione il principio della inderogabilità del contratto collettivo, ma impone di non doverlo considerare un principio assolutamente pervasivo, perché questo precluderebbe di cogliere alcune peculiarità individuali che proprio il modello di lavoro agile può adeguatamente cogliere e soddisfare. Quindi da un lato appunto possiamo essere in qualche modo favorevolmente colpiti da come l'emergenza pandemica ha funzionato effettivamente come un trigger, come un fattore di sblocco e come un fattore di avvio di una grande ed irreversibile rivoluzione. È una fase di cambiamento, è un'ondata di cambiamento che sicuramente avrà appunto una durata che trascenderà la fase dell'emergenza pandemica, anche perché ha una influenza generale sull'organizzazione delle imprese che certo non devo spiegare io perché non è il mio specifico, ma che è impossibile trascurare. Leggevo qualche tempo fa su Repubblica che una recente indagine ha calcolato un risparmio annuale potenziale di 10.000 euro per ogni posto di lavoro convertito da lavoro presenziale in lavoro agile, e questo dà la misura di come anche appunto dopo la cessazione della fase di emergenza questa evoluzione è destinata ad essere coltivata in maniera estremamente intensa. D'altro lato la fase emergenziale ha messo in luce alcune possibili carenze in prospettiva del modello legale. Perché dico in prospettiva? La fase emergenziale, come penso tutti noi siamo consapevoli, è uno stato di eccezione anche per quanto riguarda il lavoro agile. Tutto quello che vi ho detto per quanto riguarda le competenze affidate all'accordo individuale non vale a partire dall'inizio dello stato di emergenza e non vale a partire dall'emanazione dei primi decreti del Presidente del Consiglio dei Ministri che hanno autorizzato il ricorso al lavoro agile su decisione unilaterale del datore di lavoro, senza necessità quindi di un accordo, e in maniera molto generica e vaga, dichiarando l'applicabilità perdurante delle norme generali della legge 81 del 2017, quindi le norme che affidano all'accordo individuale la competenza a disciplinare l'esecuzione della prestazione lavorativa, a definire attentamente le forme di esercizio del potere direttivo, quindi a regolare nel dettaglio la prestazione svolta all'esterno dei locali aziendali. Ecco, queste norme, pur dichiarate generalmente compatibili con gli atti imprenditoriali unilaterali di adibzione al lavoro agile sono state su un piano generale implementate in maniera estremamente scarsa, estremamente carente. Appunto è stato evocato e è stato richiamato e descritto appunto il caso o lo specifico versante del lavoro pubblico. Insomma, nella mia personale esperienza la disciplina unilaterale dell'esecuzione della prestazione lavorativa all'esterno dei locali aziendali, espressamente dedicata appunto al lavoro agile, la formulazione di puntuali direttive in merito alle peculiari modalità di svolgimento di questa attività, anche con riferimento agli aspetti più banali, come quelli della necessità o meno di adeguarsi o rispettare determinate modalità temporali di svolgimento della prestazione, ecco, sono state osservate in maniera estremamente difettosa, estremamente lacunosa. Questa non è probabilmente soltanto una criticità della fase emergenziale, ma è un elemento di riflessione che deve essere in qualche modo idealmente trasposto anche alla fase di cessazione dell'emergenza, che ipoteticamente noi sappiamo è piuttosto vicina, perché è prevista per il 31 gennaio del 2021. Oltre appunto a queste evidenti lacunosità nelle modalità di esercizio del potere direttivo relativamente alla conversione temporanea dei rapporti di lavoro da presenziali a forme di lavoro agile, si sono venute ad evidenziare altre e specifiche generali criticità. Ad esempio, alcune pronunce giudiziali si sono soffermate in termini a volte non del tutto convergenti, con qualche contraddittorietà, sulla ipotetica esistenza o meno di un diritto di un lavoratore che possa potenzialmente veder convertita la modalità di svolgimento della prestazione da presenziale al lavoro agile, che possa veder convertita appunto la sua prestazione imperativamente in modalità di lavoro agile, e in qualche modo diciamo contraddicendo tanto la logica della legge che in qualche modo affida questa conversione a una decisione volontaria, quanto alla decretazione di urgenza che affida questa decisione all'imprenditore. Altre tematiche che si sono manifestate è quella appunto sono quelle di una come vi ho detto come vi ho accennato in precedenza, di una vaghezza di indicazioni o alle volte formulazioni di direttive relativamente incongrue e contraddittorie rispetto al modello legale. Ci sono molti soggetti, molti datori di lavoro, questo l'ho visto recentemente anche da parte di Roma Capitale, che in caso di prestazione di lavoro agile impongono la permanenza domiciliare, ma il modello legale in realtà è un modello che esplicitamente prevede che la prestazione viene svolta senza una postazione fissa, quando viene svolta per l'appunto fuori dall'azienda. In mancanza di imprescindibili necessità tecniche, questo tipo di imposizioni, ripeto, appaiono contrastanti con il modello legale. È stata poi comune a tutta alla realtà trasversale sul piano internazionale l'esperienza dovuta anche appunto ad un difetto di regolazione dei tempi di lavoro, l'esperienza di un generale sovraccarico e di una generale dilatazione in effetti dei tempi dell'impegno lavorativo. Da ultimo anche il principio di parità di trattamento, che poi è una leva essenziale per la diffusione del lavoro agile, ha visto durante questa fase alcune criticità. È nota la questione controversa della spettanza o meno di una erogazione patrimoniale, sostanzialmente, qual è il cosiddetto buono pasto spendibile per l'acquisto di generi alimentari, che tuttavia a macchia di leopardo è stato o riconosciuto o negato ai lavoratori la cui prestazione è stata temporaneamente convertita in modalità di lavoro agile. Rispetto a queste criticità, indubbiamente si evidenziano delle necessità di intervento anche sulla disciplina legale, nella prospettiva di un consolidamento di questa esperienza, non dico appunto nelle dimensioni così notevoli che sono state richiamate anche con riferimento al settore pubblico, ma sicuramente ci sarà un consolidamento e una forte diffusione del modello di lavoro agile. Ecco, che queste criticità non si possano ripresentare successivamente appunto alla cessazione dell'emergenza e alla riconversione del lavoro agile da modello autoritativo in modello volontario è un po' utopistico, e di questo anche il legislatore se ne sta rendendo conto con un progetto di riforma parziale che è stato presentato con il disegno di legge 1833, la versione definitiva è dello scorso 20 settembre, è un ampio disegno di legge delega che mira a riscrivere, in buona parte riproducendo ciò che già c'è nella legge 81 del 2017, ma introducendo alcuni elementi di novità, come quello di definire meglio le priorità e i diritti alla conversione, come quello di favorire l'effettività del diritto alla risconnessione, come quello più critico di sovrapporre al lavoro agile l'intera disciplina sui limiti al tempo di lavoro, aspetto secondo me negativo per una ragione che dirò tra poco in chiusura, e di potenziare, di rafforzare.
Scusa, non è leggibile, però vorrei sollecitare a concludere 2 o 3 minuti.
Sì, infatti proprio questi sono i tempi in cui intendo finire il mio intervento. Dicevo, rafforzare gli obblighi relativi alla protezione della sicurezza e salute del lavoratore. Si può immaginare un intervento più incisivo, un intervento che adotti un'impostazione differente. Come vi ho detto, probabilmente sarebbe più opportuno su un piano di sistema cominciare a ragionare meglio su quali sono le materie che il legislatore deve necessariamente disciplinare, quelle che devono essere affidate alla contrattazione collettiva e quelle sulle quali viceversa potrebbe essere più opportuno rispolverare la vecchia tecnica del rinvio alla contrattazione collettiva. Sulla organizzazione temporale della prestazione lavorativa, fatti salvi i limiti massimi dell'orario mi parrebbe più opportuno continuare a rinviare agli accordi individuali, perché effettivamente c'è un range, c'è una geometria variabile di svolgimento del lavoro agile che non dovrebbe essere in qualche modo condizionata o alterata. Il lavoro agile effettivamente può arrivare da margini di vicinanza al lavoro presenziale o distaccarsene più radicalmente, ma questa è una decisione che dovrebbe essere rimessa con maggiore libertà alle parti del rapporto individuale. Alla contrattazione collettiva potrebbe essere maggiormente importante rimettere ad esempio la regolamentazione del diritto alla trasformazione del rapporto di lavoro da modalità presenziale a modalità agile. Soprattutto la contrattazione collettiva dovrebbe occuparsi dei trattamenti, non semplicemente declinando, non semplicemente accontentandosi di una statuizione legislativa che impone una parità di trattamento generale, ma che, come abbiamo visto, non funziona poi su alcuni aspetti di dettaglio. La contrattazione collettiva può utilmente e dovrebbe utilmente intervenire sui trattamenti, sulla definizione dei trattamenti economici e sull'adattamento delle strutture salariali al lavoro agile, e dovrebbe intervenire come auspica, ma in qualche modo anche in questo caso in termini generici, l'attuale legislazione, gli aspetti della formazione, che, come viene evidenziato sotto moltissimi versanti interdisciplinari, nei confronti del lavoro agile assume sicuramente delle connotazioni, dei significati, una rilevanza molto più incisiva che non nelle forme di lavoro più tradizionale. Con questo termino e ringrazio nuovamente per l'invito e ringrazio tutti i partecipanti per la loro attenzione e restituisco la parola al Presidente.
Grazie Stefano. Credo che rispondo in italiano, cioè commento brevemente in italiano a chi parla italiano, diciamo. Penso che le implicazioni e le problematiche che nascono sul piano giuridico siano estremamente complesse, anche in termini di linguaggio, no? Questo è sempre una costante del rapporto tra economia e diritto, no? Quando noi parliamo di leadership e di capacità di coordinamento, l'equivalente giuridico è potere direttivo, ma quindi c'è sempre un problema anche di sincronizzazione, di armonizzazione semantica, direi, tra le figure e le funzioni. Ma il problema che mi pongo e che sarebbe opportuno secondo me approfondire è il problema della sequenza dei tempi tra la regolamentazione giuridica e la ristrutturazione dei processi, cioè se i processi seguono quella che è una regolamentazione giuridica dettagliata, si crea un vincolo che secondo me toglie flessibilità alla possibilità di cambiare i processi. Viceversa, se prima si riorganizzano i processi e poi si interviene legislativamente, si crea il problema di lasciare dei vuoti, no? Nel campo del diritto, della delimitazione dei poteri, eccetera. Quindi è un problema, a mio parere, molto delicato, che forse potrebbe risolversi facendo un intervento legislativo di carattere generale, diciamo di cornice, e lasciando invece ad una sorta di qualche simultaneità tra la regolazione giuridica e il ridisegno completo dei processi organizzativi, in cui il ruolo maggiore non dovrebbe essere quello individuale. Io ho visto qui un'accentuazione molto sui problemi del rapporto di lavoro individuale, ma il nuovo lavoro smart, intelligente. Io allora preferisco smart piuttosto che agile, perché di agile non c'è niente. Anche le persone con disabilità fisiche potrebbero fare lo smart working e possono. In questo contesto, nella fase di una simultanea ristrutturazione complessiva dell'organizzazione del lavoro e dei processi, combinata con una regolamentazione, lì io vedrei un ruolo decisivo alla compartecipazione dei lavoratori nel processo di riorganizzazione, di reingegnerizzazione delle procedure, della sequenza di atti che disegnano un percorso che porta a un certo risultato. Quindi porrei il problema ai giuristi di vedere da un lato l'equilibrio tra la sottolineatura del rapporto individuale di lavoro e invece l'ottica di gruppo, di responsabilità di gruppo, di lavoro di gruppo che dovrebbe essere collegato a questa nuova organizzazione del lavoro, e d'altro lato le modalità di partecipazione dei lavoratori allo stesso processo, cioè la contrattazione dovrebbe essere più un'azione partecipativa alla individuazione di funzioni, di specificità, di fasi, di distribuzione delle fasi, di momenti in presenza e momenti di assenza, fatta comunemente dal management delle imprese, questo vale anche nel settore pubblico, e dalle organizzazioni dei lavori, in un'ottica di lavoro di gruppo, il che comporta anche forse rotazione delle funzioni, forse qualche problema anche in termini di retribuzione, anche quello è un altro aspetto da vedere, ma vedrei proprio un processo simultaneo di regolazione giuridica e di riorganizzazione del lavoro, piuttosto che una fase prima e l'altra dopo, o una dopo e l'altra prima, insomma, ma staccate. È un problema che pongo prima di dare la parola a Giovannone. Non credo che ancora ci sia Anna Ponzellini, vero? Dobbiamo rassegnarci alla sua assenza, non la vedo.
Ci sono.
Ah, ci sei?
Sì, c'è.
Allora facciamo questa alternanza adesso. Anna, diamo la parola ad Anna e poi a Giovannone. Il criterio è 20 minuti, credo che dobbiamo finire all'1, quindi non più di 20 minuti a testa, anzi magari un po' meno, se vogliamo concedere poi un secondo giro di brevi chiarimenti, breve precisazione. Anna, are you going to speak English or Italian?
I'm going to speak what you want, but I see that all participants except 2 are Italian, so if you...
Who are the foreigners?
Good for you.
Who are the foreigners?
2,
Because
2, yes.
If they, but who? If they are Spanish, for instance, it would be okay. If they are German, perhaps it's different. Anyway, choose a language that you prefer.
Yes, I will try to go in English, and then maybe I pass to Italian. So thank you to Astrid for inviting me, and especially thank you to my friends Sebastiano Fadda and Leonello Tronti for inviting me. I think I can, you have put my slides. I thank you. Perhaps also I can do this, even if I had a lot of problems to connect this morning. So what we call in Italy smart work is expected to be rooted in a smart organization. So what's a smart organization? We have a definition by the European Commission. It's pretty old, but I suppose it's so it's already useful for 2 points. It's a knowledge-driven organization, and it is internet worked, according to Taikol. So the internet not only facilitates any hyperlinking of documents, but also a hyperlinking of people and organization, according to Levine. So internet is a key factor for smart organization, and if we want to describe in an operative way how a smart organization run, we must see that smart organizations are based on one hand, on a deep integration between processes, systems, and function, where digital technologies are the way to realize this integration, and on the other hand, to a wide circulation of information, open database. If you look at a smart organization from the point of view of place, that's the issue of this morning, remote working, smart organization enable the individuals to cooperate with their colleagues regardless of the fact they are working 6,000 miles away or they are shoulder to shoulder in their office. So all of us we all are very aware about the benefits of working remotely, benefits on the private life, work-life balance, but also for cities, mobility and pollution reduced, and also for savings of company in terms of real estate. But in my communication now, I would prefer to analyze some risks, and I will touch 5 different areas of risks. I will just mention them because of the time, and then I go to my conclusion. The first area is about distance. Distance matters, and it's about what is the meaning the meaning we are going to be more aware in this time about the physicality, the physical presence turned out to be more important than we realized so far. So working remotely could have consequences, and on our relationships. In particular, Simmel used a very suggestive word, sociability in English, to describe the positive perception of the presence of others around us, and a physical presence of the others. And in a similar way, also Richard Sennett talks about empathy as a key factor for the rituals of cooperation. So we have some theoretical framework to better analyze this new condition. And we have also evidence already from research, especially industrial psychology studies in last 10 years about the so-called geographically distributed teams that are a usual way to connect to work together for teams in some sectors like oil and gas and engineering, information technology, distributed all over the world. And in this analysis evidence that organizational conflicts may arise from the distance, and the demotivation and scarce empathy and so on. My second point is about can I have the slides? Yes. My second point is about networks. And we can analyze these problems. Networks are power in the framework, in the theoretical framework of Coleman's social capital theory. Within the reduction of the interaction with boss and fellow workers, the building of social capital for organization, but also individual social capital, as the resources for action that everybody derives from their environment, is going to be more and more difficult, and this will affect probably especially people who are not so strong in the organization, like new entry, young people, and so on. My third point is about place, the end of the office as a place, as a space. And I suppose we all discovered that office is both a physical and also a symbolic work environment. So we are losing not only relationships and a place or a desk, but we are losing habits, everyday routines, company community customs, all what builds the culture of the company. But there is another question, important question about the office as a second chance for some groups of workers, a second chance compared to family life. Perhaps someone knows the work of Arlie Hochschild. She wrote a book, The Time Bind, and the subtitle of this book is very explicative. When work becomes home and homes become work. So according to Hochschild, sometimes, especially for young parents, for mother workers, the office may represent a satisfactory place when home is a burden. So she speaks about a reversal of office, and it's likely that working life might get harder, especially for this group of employees. My fourth point is about places as well, not the primary place like the offices, but the transitional spaces like trains and buses and stations and airports, cafeterias always. So the places we transit through when we commute from the house to the office. And we know these places are displays, and and the informal meetings they foster are the origin of some ideas, insights, and also decision for organization. It's the theory of the importance of weak ties. Not only primary ties are important for organization, but also this kind of informal but so important ties, especially for creativity and decision making, problem solving, and so on. My last point, then I will go to my conclusion, is about standardization. So on the one hand, working from remote comprises a larger autonomy for individuals, for workers, about where, but also when, sometimes, and how to work. So this is really a benefit for working life, but on the other hand, in order to be better coordinated and to better cooperate with colleagues and bosses, people working from remote are expected to engage with many digital applications that already exist, and also performance management tools like project management and its rules. So most of the work of people working from remote is likely to be increasingly controlled and oriented by data-driven KPIs, but also by quality standards, deadlines, and so on. So there is a question: will remote work facilitate the coming of a neo-tailored standardization of tasks, even in knowledge occupation? That's a problem to control. I come to my conclusions. I have, I should say, a technical one for companies. In my opinion, at this stage, the challenge for companies is not introducing new rules for working conditions, but is the redesign of coordination and control systems, because they have to be shaped in a different way. So there are two main directions. The first is increasing, as we have just seen the formalization of some operational processes in management practices, but also opening to a broad-based information sharing. And even more difficult, the system, the control system, the evaluation system, after the end of the presence to the job, is going to be a problem for organization. How can they measure the worker performance? In the present debate, I heard frequently the idea okay, we can introduce management by results, but is this method a convincing method for the performance evaluation in all the occupation? I don't think so, and this will put many questions and a big deal of work of analysis to solve. And finally, can you go to my, yes. Recently, Federico Butera reminded us about the fact that companies have different options and choices in designing both technologies and organizations. So companies now face the alternative of a true organizational choices. And between neo-Taylorism and total transparency, as we have seen, standardized tasks or pervasive digital control and so on, and a balanced strategy between efficiency for the company and skills and autonomy for employees. And in my opinion, in this second strategy, a share of time in the office must be included to preserve face-to-face relationships. So, what's this balanced strategy is not so clear, but we must found it. We have no alternative but to proceed through trials and errors. And it's for this reason that, in my opinion, it's really premature to talk of a new legal regulation of working condition before a new shaping of system of coordination and control. And if I were a unionist at this stage, I would ask companies to participate to the decision making for introducing new tools, for the introduction of new tools of coordination and control, instead of asking for new protection. Not so easy to see, to understand at this stage. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anna, for this contribution. And I think the last statement that you made just bring us to the problem that I stressed and pointed out about the previous contribution, the fact of the relationship between legal regulation and step-by-step proceeding towards a new organization. And it would be worth talking about this. Thank you also for framing this issues and this discussion in the literature related to these problems, which helps to give an orientation. And finally, you pose a fundamental question that it is this one, will this new organization and the adoption of new technologies enhance or compress the degree of autonomy and individual creativity in the performing of the work and of the tasks? And then how can the contribution of each workers be evaluated, and what consequences can be drawn about the wage dynamics? Probably all the system of the schemes of wage definition are subjected to substantial change. Okay, now it is the turn of Maria Giovannone, and hope we can respect the time and finish by 1 o'clock, giving perhaps 10 minutes for second round, very, very quick. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Professor Fadda. I'm really honored to join this plenary session. I prepared a few slides that, of course, can be left to the participants. Anyway, I will not switch my slides in order to be faster, so I will try to stay in time. Okay, I'm going to focus on the occupational health and safety issues related to smart working in what I used to define the pre- and post-pandemic scenario of smart working. And first, following Professor Bellomo very deep analysis on the legal issues related to smart working, I think we can all agree around the idea that the institution was first introduced and regulated by the Italian law of 2017, like a method for the execution of the employment relationship, whose specificities could be freely regulated by the parties by means of a specific agreement, which should be in compliance with a set of fundamental principles established by the law, which was deliberately not very detailed in order to leave the floor to the parties of the individual relationships. On the other hand, during this month, of course, we have all observed progressively a sort of growing distinction between the ordinary and original ratio of the institution and the pandemic one. So it was, of course, first addressed that meeting the growing need for organizational flexibilities of the parties of the employment relationship and need for a better work-life balance. So, little by little, there has been, during this month, a sort of shifting from the work-life balance, competitiveness, and productivity purposes of the smart working regulation to a new ratio in which during the pandemic, smart working has become one of the favorite preventional measures to minimize the risk of contagion at work. That is still ongoing. If we look at the last DPCM adopted by the Italian government of the last 3rd of December, this situation is confirmed. So it was suggested, strongly recommended, or introduced as the compulsory way for the execution of the employment relationship, and chosen like a regulatory and organizational tool to keep the balance between constitutionally protected rights, the right to work, the right to economic initiatives, the right to public health, and even the right to occupational health and safety at work. So, consequently, in light of this new function, its operational functioning was strongly or too much simplified, even if the general legal discipline introduced in 2017 has never been formally changed or amended. So in this transition, we are wondering whether or not the social legal function of smart working is going to change in a future post-pandemic scenario, if there would be an evolution in its function, probably based on a possible matching between its original ratio and the pandemic ratio. In any case, I think we should have clear in mind that the classical strong guarantees and protections provided for subordination relationship should remain safeguarded, and including undoubtedly those aimed at the protection of health and safety at work and the insurance coverage against accidents at work and occupational diseases. And it is properly on these two aspects that I want to focus in order to first point out the critical issues raised by the norms on the preventional duty and insurance coverage, and to point out, on the other hand, some opportunities raised by the special regulations of smart working during the pandemic period, even in the field of occupational health and safety. Of course, the law in 2017 provided for specific provisions on health and safety at work with a sort of distribution of the preventional obligations between the employer and the employee set forth under the Article 22. And then it also introduced the extension of the right to compulsory insurance against accidents at work and occupational diseases for smart workers. There are also some important provisions, implications on health and safety, which were first mentioned by Professor Bellomo, dealing with the right to disconnect or the duration of maximum working time, which of course have an important implications in health and safety issues. Anyway, looking at the preventional duty, which is put on the employer by the Article 22, the employer has got to guarantee the health and the safety of the worker who performs the activity in a smart way. So, at least annually, has got to provide the employee and the workers' safety representatives with a written information report, identifying the general risks and the specific risks connected to the particular method of execution of the employment relationship. And on the other hand, the employee has got to cooperate in the implementation of these preventional measures developed by the employer. As for the provisions on the compulsory insurance against accidents at work and occupational diseases, the Article 23 introduced the right, the smart worker right to protection against accidents at work and occupational diseases, depending on those risks related to the work performed outside the company places. And this insurance protection was also extended to those accidents occurring during the normal round trip from the place of residence to the one chosen for the performance of the work outside the company places, the so-called in itinere accidents. So both these provisions, when the law was first introduced in 2017, immediately raised many doubts in the doctrinal debate, and all these critical issues have been strongly emphasized during the pandemic, especially if we look at the future implementation of smart working. The critical issues regarded were most concerning the need or not to have a coordination between this specific preventional discipline for the smart worker and the general preventional discipline in occupational health and safety set by the Italian Consolidated Act on Health and Safety at Work, regulating all the aspects of the preventional duties within the employment relationship. So there were some uncertainties of interpretation about the sufficiency or not. Is the information report in itself sufficient to guarantee the health and the safety of the smart worker, especially for the part of activity which is performed outside the company premises, or not? Do we have to coordinate this duty as an additional duty to the ordinary preventional duties? So the prevailing interpretation was in the legal doctrine the more restrictive one, considering the information report as the exhaustive preventional measure in case of smart working. On the other hand, as for the insurance coverage, one of the biggest problems was related to the risk and maybe the fear of an excessive extension of the indemnities, of the indemnity benefits connected to the public insurance against accidents at work and occupational diseases, even to those events and to those circumstances and to those kinds of risks which were completely out of any sphere of control by the employer on the one hand and by the public insurance institution on the other hand. With the growing use of smart working during the pandemic, all these critical issues have been emphasized. So they raise, once again, more and more the following question. There are critical issues related to the excessive expansion of the employer's responsibility for non-compliance with the preventive provisions on the matter in the face of the loss of control of the effective compliance with the occupational health and safety measures by smart workers. There is the need of a reflection on the new need for reflection on the sufficiency of the risk information report for the proper fulfillment of the preventive obligation. And once more, on the insurance social security side, we consider that with the pandemic, there was the introduction with the Cura Italia decree of the equalization of COVID-19 infection with an accident at work, with the extension of all the indemnity benefits required by the law. So there is no reason to exclude that this form of protection should also be extended to the smart worker, even in case of accidents occurred in itinere, provided that the conditions for the recognition of the insurance are satisfied. So the verification of those circumstances regarding the harmful event by the public insurance could become more and more complex and uncertain. So all these controversial legal issues related to the emergency and to the growing use of smart working should be taken into account when thinking to the future of its social-legal function and consequently to its new regulation, possible potential future regulation. A future regulation which could be enacted by means of legal provisions, but also by means of social partners, of negotiation of collective bargaining at national, territorial and company level. In my opinion, the intervention of collective bargaining could be very good in order to give a clearer regulation of occupational health and safety issues. During the pandemic, we saw the good experience of the social partners' shared protocol during the pandemic in order to prevent the risk of contagion. So this sort of regulatory technique could be used once more, even for the future evolution of smart working in the field of health and safety. There is a need for regulation of the right to disconnect, for a greater safeguards against hidden or panoptic control, and against the implication for the physical and mental health of workers and their well-being. But there are also some opportunities coming from the special use of smart working during the pandemic, since we have to consider that smart working in times of emergency was very deeply used as a preventive measure to minimize the risk of contagion, especially with regard to fragile workers, weaker workers. So workers considered particularly vulnerable for personal reasons related to health, age, or disability, or for the coexistence of several factors of subjective vulnerability. So it could have very good implications in terms of employment and preventive protection for people with disabilities or chronic or disabling diseases. So smart working could favor their integration or reintegration into the world of work. It could guarantee them a healthy and safer working environment in order to have a more concrete implementation of the principle of precaution of frail people. And another interesting observation can be done in the field of vocational training. the massive use of smart working has encouraged the carrying out of compulsory vocational training activities for workers through the use of telematic tools and e-learning methodology. So digital training and e-learning have been also permitted by way of specific derogation from the legal provisions that normally allow the use of e-learning, for instance, in the field of occupational health and safety vocational training, which is normally can be normally used in a very limited way in this area of vocational training. So these special provisions once more call for reflection on the rethinking of vocational training legal framework, which should deserve a more decisive use of digital technologies, even in the field of occupational health and safety, obviously on the condition that those tools are used to guarantee the quality and the interactivity of training. I've tried to be very short. I did my best, I hope. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maria. I think you pointed out some questions which are generally overlooked in the discussion of smart working organization, but they are fundamental. The extension of the safety rules and the reduction of risks in the performing of the tasks in the frame of the smart working are surely to be investigated and regulated somehow. Thank you for your contribution, really. At this point, it is 1 o'clock. Perhaps you can take some more 5-10 minutes. First of all, to see if there are questions from the audience, if that's possible. And if not,
Sebastiano?
Yes.
Only a very short observation regarding the speech of Professor Bellomo.
Yes.
I am worried about his emphasis on individual bargaining, in the sense that I think that we should not forget that in wage bargaining, in the most cases, the workers are in a sense the weak hand, the weak side. And so I think that it is very important that in many fields, the collective bargaining maintain its role. This is my opinion, because I think that with the widespread of smart working, there is the fear that workers lose, in a sense, some force, in a sense, some strength in wage bargaining. So this is my yes. I am a little worried about this, and yeah. I do not know what Professor Bellomo and what you think about it.
Yeah.
Can we collect, before you answer, can we collect some other questions from the audience? If not, in the meantime, you can answer to the question. Okay.
Okay. Many thanks. There is of course, there is a very remarkable match between the final observation of our president and the observation of Professor Levrero. But I have to make one important remark with reference to the matter that the emphasis on the individual agreement, it's not mine, it is in the law of 2017, which regulates lavoro agile, and trusts the regulation of the most aspect of this modality of the relationship to the individual agreement. Me also, I'm quite convinced that it is very important to circumscribe the spaces of individual autonomy and to define and to give an appropriate, an adequate space according the traditional vision, according the traditional approach to the collective bargaining. We are totally agree, I think, or totally or partially agree under these aspects. On the other side, and also with reference to the final observation of the paper, the slide of Professor Ponzellini, I think that it is unavoidable that the law should intervene on this matter, because on the other side, the smart working or lavoro agile or how you can prefer to call it, call into question the traditional balance between the sources of the work relationship. If we follow to think that the employment relationship also carried out with the smart working modality could follow the traditional balance, the traditional order and hierarchy of sources, I think we could make a mistake, because on the other side, if Lavoro Agile could satisfy effectively the personal and individual situation and demands and so on, the space who have to be entrusted to this individual aspect has to be recognized, has to be regulated by a law that introduce a partially new balance, a partially new mix between the different sources of the employment relationship. So I'm totally agree that it is important to entrust more competencies to collective bargaining, but without forgetting that it is this model is efficient in the measure that could permit to satisfy in a series of individual needs that are in an unavoidable way different from person to person.
Okay, thank you. Before giving the floor to Anna Ponzellini, are there any more questions from the audience? Otherwise, Anna Ponzellini has asked to say something. Please, Anna.
Yes. I want perhaps to better explain my point of view about my final conclusion on also touching the question of law and industrial relations. I think that the law and the individual contract is very important to protect the voluntarity of people who can't sometimes don't want or don't have the possibility to work from home or remotely. the collective bargaining is always welcome on the organizational work, but what I try to highlight is the fact that the organization are changing slowly. We have a lot of technologies, but and we can have all the technologies, but perhaps this is not the right way to proceed in the organizations. So we have to choose, and choosing, we have to introduce new ways of organization of work, but especially on coordination and control of workers. So the collective bargaining and also the law must go not before, perhaps after, or going together step by step, like Sebastiano Fadda told. I remember Gino Giuni, the law in action. We can't put a law before the organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. This is surely a point that deserves further investigation. Are there any more questions from the audience? LT Leonello Tronti. Okay, please be short in your exposition, because the answer should be short as well. Okay.
Yeah, yes. The question is quite quick, even if the answer may not be so quick. So maybe you can just have a bit of it, just a little bit of it. I saw in the Ponzellino discussion that she was designing a sort of a risk of a new Taylorism as organized by an increase in the control by machine upon working time, working tasks, and working relationships also. But it looks to me that the idea of Taylorism is not so well apt to schematize what it may happen with smart working. That is, Taylorism has got in itself something that has got to do with repetitive work. You must do all of the time the same thing and repeat it many times, you know, and you have to become yourself a machine. But it doesn't seem to me that this could happen with smart working. I think that you may be more hetero-directed by machines than what you think in the beginning. In the beginning, you think that by organizing your working time by yourself, you are freer. And so we can organize working time, relationships, the process of your work, or maybe of your work within a group, within a team. But I don't think that this can be controlled by machines to the same extent, to become as repetitive as it was during Taylorism. I think there is something different. There is always a space, a bigger part of responsibility which is posed on the worker. And I think that this is the more difficult thing to regulate both through the law or through collective bargaining. It's this difference which I think is very difficult to grasp and to state down in written laws or agreements. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I just would ask a question or pose a problem. When I tried to list a short list of benefits and advantages of smart working, like the improvement of quality of work, the flexibility between leisure time and family size, I think we should bear in mind very well the need to avoid the creation of new inequalities through the smart working. Inequality may concern the acquisition of digital skills, may concern the distribution of family work, homework, and family caretaking and working time, inequality about concerning fragile people, the possibility of career and the acquiring more responsibility in the job. I think there are new opportunities for the creation of inequalities, which we should try to avoid at all costs. And this is just a caveat among the other things that have to be taken into account in this, that can be called a work in progress. I think smart work is a work in progress, actually. There are not many cases to be studied, and most of them, like Amazon, Xerox, Dell, Motorola, Lenovo, perhaps Barilla is an exception, but most of them are in the field of not manufacturing sector. And therefore, I think if we approach this problem as a kind of work in progress, then all the questions need exploration, more careful, more deep, and trying not to put, as I said before, the legal regulation before the restructuring, but on the other hand, not postponing the legal regulation to the definition of new organization. This is something which has to proceed step by step, but as a simultaneous contribution, both from the legal aspect and from the managerial aspect, with the participation of labor force. This is a thing that I would stress particularly. Please, other questions or other people who want to intervene?
Raise his hand, so I think that
yes.
Rocca would like to speak.
Yes, Della. Yes, please, Beppe. Can you hear? Beppe, Della Rocca, can you hear? You can speak. No, you cannot hear. You cannot hear? Okay. It doesn't seem to. Can you switch the microphone on? No. Well, in the meantime, while Della Rocca tries to connect,
yes, I am ready.
Okay, please.
No, it's just about what you said about the conclusion of my speech. Is perhaps I made a mistake in the flow of the explanation of the point of view of technology. And what I want just to stress that if that is the mistake at the end of the scheme that I show at the end of the speech, no, is the Thomson flow that I show at the end is an organizational flow, is not a technology flow. Is the book of Thomson is called organizational. It talk about organizational dilemma. So to put in a way, now I don't have the scheme here ready in the floor, but to put in already in a standard, they divide the standard mutual adaptability and vertical, you see, or you call it progressive adaptability. What is said is that is the organization in action. So if you put it in a way, standard flow, if you go to the usual and old definition of the assembly line, a standard flow is an assembly line in the day of is the organization on standard with activity one of the others. And when we talk about mutual adaptability, is the need to have working time, is mutual adaptability is the way that as some of you said, teamwork, anyway, because there are always information going back one to the others. In sequentially, one is a new way of sequentially study is a way of an organization that have an input and output with a sequential division of the activity. So are two types of organizations. That is want to stress this point. Perhaps I was not clear in the explanation, and because you know integration, integration, interdependence are organizational work, and digital technology follow these sort of things. So put up there is no distinction from digital and organization, because digital must follow what is the organizations in such a way. When Thomson talk about organization in action, it means these three type of organization. One with the flow is standard and with a very simple task for each other, for every workers and so on. And mutual adaptation can be for workers too. In the work organization of jobs, in which people need to be in team, to be stopped, to be give back information, and not follow just what is going down. I hope to have to be clear. Perhaps a mistake in the presentation. Thank you very much anyway.
Okay, thanks for this clarification. Any other questions or comments? Okay, no comments. So I think we can conclude without conclusions. We have touched several points, and the main lessons of this discussion is that really we are in between a work in progress to define the way of new organization, to define the legal regulation, to define the positive aspect, the risks and the benefits which should be shared among all, trying to avoid any kind of divide, any kind of new inequalities may arise in terms of personal, gender, geographical, or based or dimensional based conditions that may affect this progress. So thank you very much for this contribution. Maybe some of your contribution could give rise to papers that we, the ASTRIL, will be glad to publish, to put together in order to make them available to a larger public. Thank you very much to everybody. See you next time. Bye-bye.